Okay guys, we're looking at a new topic. We're looking at statistics, which is just analysis of data, and we do that in order to make decisions. So just copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so data can appear in different ways. It's usually numbers, but it also could be descriptions, and I'll explain what that means. So with numbers, it might be questions like how many people in the average household, so the governments can know where to put their money, or it might be the average age of a person in Australia, which might be used for health reasons. But it could be descriptions like, who's your favourite football team, or what's the colour of cars sold in Australia, and that's important. For instance, football teams, of course everyone likes their football, but say colours of cars, people need to know what colours to make so that they're selling the most number of cars. So copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, if we have data, we can find out numbers that analyse the data, and these numbers are called measures of central tendency. And so you've heard of these words before, so we'll just put them down in our notes. We have the mean, and the mean is just the average of the scores. The mode is the score that occurs the most, and the median is the middle score, but the scores have to be arranged in order of size. And while the range is not a measure of central tendency, I'm going to put it down here as well. So the range is just the highest score minus the lowest score, but it actually isn't a measure of the centre. Okay, so copy that down, and when you're ready, we'll have a look at an example on the next page. Okay, no, actually we're not ready for examples yet. So with descriptions, when you've got your favourite football team, you can't find the average and you can't find the median, but you can find the mode, like i.e. who's the most popular football team, what's the most popular colour sold, but you can't find averages, and you can't find middles. Okay, so copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so with data, data is given in two ways. Data can be ungrouped, whether each score is considered singly, how many pets do you have, but sometimes you can group it because, for instance, in a maths test you might have too many scores to look at easily, so we might group them in groups of 10, for instance, or groups of 5. So, scores of 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. So when we group them, we lose some of the information, but we can still do some analysis. But ungrouped data is each score is considered as a score by itself. So copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so when you have ungrouped data, we've got the mean, the mode, the median, and the range. So again, just put this down. So to find the mean, add the scores and then divide by the number of scores. The mode, look for the score that occurs the most. We call that the one with the highest frequency. And with the median, you need to arrange the scores lowest to highest, and then you just look for the middle score, which you can do in a couple of different ways. And again, the range, while not a measure of central tendency, it's just the highest score minus the lowest score. So copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so here's an example. Find the mean, the median, the mode, and the range for these scores, whatever they represent. Okay, so for the mean, we add the scores. Just use your calculator, press equals before dividing, and the average is 8. So even though there wasn't a score of 8 in the data, the average is 8. The mode, if you have a look, that score of 5 occurs twice, and no other score occurs twice, so the mode is 5. The median is the score in the middle. So we've got 7 scores, so there's two ways of doing it. You can just sort of cross out from the outside until you're left with one in the middle. So the median is 7, and the range is 14, the highest score minus the lowest score, which is 11. 14 minus 3 equals 11. So copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so data can be given to you in different ways, and they go pretty quickly in the book to different ways. You don't get a lot of examples of the one type. So you can have numbers written down individually or in a table. You can have them as what's called a dot plot, a stem and leaf, and a box and whiskers. So if you copy that down, we'll have a look at what they look like on the next slide. Okay, so data individually is like the first example. We had just the scores written down. The data could be in a table, and X represents the score, and F represents the frequency, or how many times it occurs. So for instance, that means there's 2 3s, that means there's 3 4s, that means there's 1 5, and that means there's 5 sevens. Oh, thank God. So that's what the numbers mean. Now 2 in the frequency means there's 2 3s, there's 3 4s, there's 1 5, and there's 5 7. So it's an easy way of looking at the data. Dot plots are just a little bit different. This means there's 2 scores, 3 scores, 1 score, 2 scores, 4. So it's a visual way of representing the data. So there's 2 scores of 3, there's 4 scores of 7, etc. Data in a stem and leaf looks like this. So that first line means the scores are a 3 and a 5, but that line is a 12, a 12, a 13, and a 15. That score is a 20, a 21, and a 29, and that score is a 35. So this is like your tens column, and this is like your units column. And they don't put, there's no commas in between, so this 3, 5 just means a score of 3 and 5. And I think there's one more down a little bit lower, and a box and whiskers, which we probably won't do a lot of, looks like that. So the scores are down the bottom, so the scores are 0 to 50. So this one here means the lowest score. This one here is the highest score. And the only one at this stage I'm going to talk about is the median. These other spots, that spot there and that spot there, we'll talk about later. So you could say that the lowest score maybe is a score of 8. The highest score might be a score of maybe 46, and the middle score might be a score of 25. But we'll talk about that at another time. So at this stage, copy that down, and what I want you to do is just have a go at exercise 3A, page 99 to 100, those questions, and we'll talk about some of the other ones that you have to do in the next lesson. Okay, thank you.